Hey guys, it's Smaller here. Today we're going to be covering how to create a Heightfield map within Leveledit. Let's get started. Load up your Leveledit. Create a new package. I've already gone ahead and created one. You want to load it up. First thing you want to do is go to the Heightfield tab for the far right corner. Create new. Just call it anything you want, or in the map name. I'm just going to call it terrain main. I'm going to go by a 250 by 250 meter terrain. Normally I like to keep the two density as default. Press OK. As you can see, it loads it up by zooming out. If you zoom out and it disappears, just press the Alt plus until it comes back. Zoom out more. And there is your terrain piece. This is the overhead view. As you can see, there's a missing texture, so let's change that. This is the base material. Select it and hit material settings. There's a texture there, but we're not going to use that one. I have some in my editor cache. I'm going to use this dirt texture. Normally I keep it between 10 and 20 for base textures. So I'm going to keep this at about 12, I believe. Yeah, 12. Go dirt. You want to select the surface type every time you change the material on one of these tabs. This one is a dirt texture, so I'm going to keep it dirt. Press OK, and it's loaded the texture up. We zoom in, we can see the texture. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my walkthrough mode. As you can see, it is a pretty large terrain just by itself. We'll go back to top view. So the first thing I want to do is set up my camera so I can see at an angle. There. Alright, so we have our base material. Before you start putting all your textures, normally I'd like to make the terrain with this base texture first. That way you can fine-tune everything before you start texturing. It's a good idea to do that. That's what I usually do. So we're going to start making our terrain here. Make sure you're set to vertex height. That's just the sculpt tool to make mountains or ridges. But you can't do it right now. So what you have to do is click this button. This is the Heightfield edit mode. And as you can see, there's a little red dot on my cursor. So if I use the default settings and I click my mouse button, I can sculpt the terrain to whatever shape I'd like. Now you can use your mouse, or you can use a tablet. I normally use a tablet for myself. It's just a lot easier painting in textures that way. I think that's good. I'm just going to make it a little bit more varied here. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on all the different brushes that you can use. This is just the standard vertex height. There's different. You can play around with the settings, and you can get different sizes and different things with the settings. For example, if I was to go 10 meters here, if I click here, it'll raise the terrain 10 meters. You can see it's made it quite a large difference, but I don't really want that, so I'm going to flatten that a bit. Okay, first I'm going to go to the smooth. So if you have like rough terrain, as you can see, there's a little bit of rough edges here. I want to smooth that out a little bit, so I'm going to go back to 1 meter for the amount. And as you can see, they're starting to fade away and get smoother. It's a good idea to smooth out most of your terrain before you start adding in details. Just makes it a lot nicer looking, and I think that's good enough for now. There's also the flatten vertex smooth, so you can make paths on the mountain ridge here. So I'm going to go 1.5 meters. I'm going to go about 5 meters inner and about 8 meters outer. So if I go to this back path right here, I can actually make a nice little walkway here. There we go. And as you can see, it looks jagged, so like I said, you can use the smooth out those edges a little bit. That way we can get a better looking path, and that looks pretty good. Just a little bit of roughness right here. Smooth that out. Every time you change the camera or rotate or anything, you have to go back into the edit mode, and it brings back that little red box. Smooth that out a little bit. I'm gonna bring it out a little bit more. I think that's good enough. And before you make any changes, just run through it again. That's pretty. It's if you have more time, you can make it better than me. But I'm just quickly going through what different tools you can use. I think that's good enough for now. So I'm gonna go back into top mode, and then I'm gonna let my character drop a little bit so I can position my camera a little bit better. I think that's good. Zoom out. There's that trail that I just made. So we have different tabs here we can put our textures into. I'm going to load up 3 more. So I'm going to pick this sand texture that I have. The tiling's good at 10. Now I'm going to go sand. Always make sure you set the surface type, or it's not gonna work in game. There's another one. I'm gonna go with a rock texture. With rock textures, I like to go a little bit bigger. As rock textures, you know, you want them to appear bigger in game, so I pick 25 usually. And then I have one more sand texture, but this one's more of a dune style texture. I'm gonna go about 12 on that one. And it looks like sand again. So first thing I want to do is paint my mountains. So select the mountain, go back into the height mode, and our red box is back. As you can see, it's quite. You can change the settings of the brush right here, but I'm just going to quickly paint in this terrain, or the mountains. I like to roughen everything first before I start fine-tuning it. I just paint it. I think that's good enough for now. So normally I like to paint in my rough textures, like I said, and then go in fine detail it. So I'm just going to quickly do that. I'm going to go with this texture here to break up the mountain. I'm going to go about 0.5. I'm just going to break it up a little bit. I think that's good. Then I'm going to paint in that, paint in a little bit another texture, just so that the textures are kind of mixed. And then I'm going to go back to the rock texture and just bring in a little bit more of the rock. Then I'm going to go ahead and blend the edges a little bit better, since it looks like a big blob right now. So I'm going to take the base texture, and I'm going to set that to about 5 meters by 6.5. And I'm just going to nicely blend this outer edge. Just make it a little varied so it looks more natural. I think that's good. Then I'm going to add this dune texture to the center here, so I'm just going to raise up the radiuses. I have to go by 10 by 15. Paint that in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and paint the base texture a little bit over that, just to break it up a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead and add this other sand texture that I have and just break that up even more. It's pretty similar to the UDK painting and using their tools, but it's a little bit easier in here. You can even go ahead and add a little bit of the rock texture just for more variation. It's a little too much there. Like I said, this is just like painting, so you know, just by what you like. And usually for my maps I like to make it pretty detailed, so I spent a few good hours on one terrain getting it perfect. And I think that's pretty much good for that. Just gonna go back into the walkthrough mode and show you guys. So there's my terrain. Now I'm just gonna quickly change some of the background lighting so you can see it a little bit better. Let's change the ambient lighting to something like a desert type. We'll go with a little orangey red. Yeah, that's good. And then the sunlight, we'll go with a dark tan color. Change the intensity a little bit. The rotation. That's good. And then we'll go to compute vertex solve and check occlusion. There we go. Load it up again. Looks a little bit better, but the sky doesn't match, so let's change that up a little bit. Go to background settings. We'll put we'll go about 8 o'clock. Put a little bit of clouds, gloominess. I'll go partial sun. I'll add a little bit of fog. Default should be fine. And then compute vertex solve once again with the occlusion checked. Go back into the run mode. And there we go. We have a pretty nice looking terrain. Like I said, this is just a basic, just an introduction to it. You can make a lot better detailed terrains, and you can spend a lot more time painting the terrain to make it a lot more realistic looking. This is just a basic, so that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching.